Oh. Seriously, Twitch, you're gonna play me ads now? Oh, come on. There we go. Okay, let's see. How does this sound? Okay, there we go. Okay, so everything's good. Okay, so that looks like the sound is good. So I guess, wait, what time is it? Okay, so that's pre-flight checks done. I guess I'm just gonna wait for people to, turn up since I have no idea how many people are watching right now. Let's see. Okay. So Twitch is being awful. Let's get this camera set up so that it looks, nope, that's too dark, that's too bright. So yeah, sorry about the stream quality. It's going to be a little janky since I don't have a capture card yet. And I'm in the UK. Let's see. The colors look washed out. I'm not sure. This looks fine to me. So yeah, right now I'm gonna just be. Okay, so the stream works. So that's an achievement already. I don't know. I don't want to start the stream early, so because yeah, there's still 10 minutes to go. So I guess I'll just go through some questions and wait for people to, start turning up. So I guess I should start with who I am. So I'm Buildzoid. I'm in the UK, and yeah, I'm originally Czech, but I don't have an accent because I always went to international schools. So that's basically why I have, why my English is so down. Enjoying the heat wave. I'm in the north of the UK, so heat wave. I think the most it was like 20 degrees outside yesterday, and today it's like 19, and now it's like 7, so temperature's back down. Um, all right, and I should mute the stream again because it's coming through my headphones. Um, so I don't know. Yeah, so yeah, we went over who I am. Any questions before I start? Because I'm gonna, I want everybody to be on the stream when I start explaining stuff. So, questions. You can ask literally anything overclocking related, graphics card related, well, computer related. Don't ask me about games. I don't play enough of them. So yeah, that's that. Uh, all right, and I need to get this monitor set up so that it's, damn it, that. There we go. So that's ready to go as well. So yeah, how stable is the 9590 at 5.2? I have no idea. I only ran it to like validate in CPU-Z, and actually it validated 5.25, so it was probably stable enough to pass. Sorry about that. It was probably stable enough to pass like Cinebench, once or twice maybe. But again, the heatsink I have on it right now is an air cooler, so I couldn't do any proper like super proper pre-testing. So yeah, but it's a way better chip than the 8320E I was using, and as far as I know, I don't think there's a single 9590 that does under 7 gigahertz. So plus the board I'm using isn't too bad for today's session. Um, yeah. So how much time we got left? 9 minutes. The um, I don't know. So LN2's over there. Yeah, so that's all the LN2 I have. That's 30 liter. Well, it should be 30 liters. Some of it probably boiled off at this point because I got it on Wednesday. Um, I don't plan to use much LN2 on today's session because again, it's just a validation run. And first of all, like I'm gonna go with 8 cores from the start because 8 cores are cool to see, but I'm probably gonna end up running 1 core or 2 cores at the end of the towards the end of the stream. And yeah, basically I don't want to burn a lot of LN2 because I can't get that for another 6 weeks. If I had more LN2 in storage, then I'd be fine with using more, but yeah, I can't really mess around with it too much. It's just starting. The stream is very much just starting, and this is like the frequency on those XMS3. Yeah, that's stock. That's stock on the RAM. I'm actually that is an old kit of RAM, old, and I'm not sure what memory ICs it uses, but I really like that kit because it does like 1600 at CL5, and I got it for like £3 at CEX. So yeah. What do you need to overclock? You need to, well, depends on what you like. You can overclock pretty much any graphics card. You just need like Afterburner or Sapphire Tricks or a GPU tweak or whatever you want to use. I like Tricks for AMD stuff, but if you have an NVIDIA card, you can use Afterburner. Even if you have an AMD card, you can still use Afterburner. Um, if you want to overclock a CPU, you can, so with AMD, you don't really need to care about having an unlocked multiplier. You can usually do, say on the 990FX platform, you can do 300 megahertz FSB. So you can easily run, say a 50% overclock without changing the multiplier at all. It does help if you can change the multiplier because then you don't have to fiddle with the RAM and you don't have to, basically worry about anything else. With Intel CPUs, your BCLK will probably just completely crap out at around 107 megahertz. And going past 105 starts being a problem because your PCIe and SATA and everything just doesn't like it. If you have Skylake, then you can get special BIOSes for most motherboards, which will let you overclock using the BCLK, and those will let you, hit 4.5 gigahertz or whatever, like even 6 gigahertz on a locked i3. The only problem with them is, and 6 gigahertz on LN2. The only problem with those special BIOSes is you lose temperature control, so you can't see temperatures and you lose AVX instruction support. There's also some motherboards where it breaks hyperthreading, but I don't know how widespread that is, and it shouldn't be too common. Yeah. Okay, so what time is it now? Thermal paste damage. What do you mean thermal paste damage? Nehala, go. Some chalk. Go. Okay, well, 5 minutes to start. And yeah, so I don't know. I don't think more people will turn up at this point. So, use a lot of thermal paste. I mean, if it isn't conductive, it really doesn't matter. Like, I go pretty liberal on the thermal paste applications, and I don't even do the P method. It's just like, yeah. Um, I did my own testing on different thermal paste applications, and like as long as the thermal paste is reasonably runny, like not, there's some thermal pastes which are like ridiculously hard to spread. So as long as it's reasonably runny, you can just like if you put too much, it's just going to squirt out the size, and if it's not conductive, it doesn't really harm anything. Uh, if it is conductive, yeah, you're screwed, and in that case, my method of cleaning just about anything computer related is to take it to the sink and just do it all in water. As long as with a motherboard, you just gotta take out the BIOS battery. If you take out the battery and let the motherboard just sit for a bit, it'll discharge completely, because there's capacitors in there. You need to let those discharge. And then you can, soak the motherboards. That's how I do graphics cards. I don't think I've ever cleaned a motherboard, but yeah, I wash all my graphics cards with just water. Just chuck them in the water because compressed air, what the hell, doesn't clean. Okay. So it's 57. I think I'll start going through the normal stream stuff. So I'm gonna first go over like basic liquid nitrogen safety concerns. So, which means I should get some nitrogen for the demonstration part of this. Yay for long cable. So, this right here tank, ugh, this thing's heavy as hell, is a DWAR. And you can't see it from behind the chair. So, this is a liquid nitrogen DWAR. It's basically a giant thermos, and yeah. And yep, that's soaked it. There. The lid on this thing is extremely crappy because this thing's old as hell and I got it super cheap, so yeah. I just use a regular thermos to, transport it around because obviously pouring from that thing is not practical in the slightest. So, let's see. Last time I tried pouring this, I'm going to get the microphone cable. That's not going to be good for the plastic. There we go. Come on. This stuff is really... Like, spilling it's not really particularly a big issue. I can't see again. Praise the UK's high humidity. And I think... That's not full. I can't see anything over all the smoke this is kicking off. And there we go. Okay, that should be enough for demonstrations. And I got the cable under it. Damn it. Ah, that's cold. And there's like nothing in that thermos. Well, whatever. Close that up for now, because I don't want to waste any yet. So yeah. This is now filled with liquid nitrogen. Let's go over nitrogen safety. Spilling liquid nitrogen is not particularly dangerous. I don't have any gloves, and there's a great reason for that. See? Nothing. It won't touch you. The stuff, there's the lead and frost effect. Basically, if you spill it on a hot surface like yourself, it will evaporate so fast that it will basically levitate itself on its own vapor, so it will never actually come in direct contact with your skin. If you pour it on clothing, cloth, and that kind of thing, you end up at risk of basically it soaks materials, so it's like water. If you stick a cloth in it, it'll soak into the cloth. And once it's soaked into a cloth, it doesn't really, like, the lead and frost effect stops working. So if you have an liquid nitrogen soaked cloth and you put that on your skin, that burns like hell. That's really terrible idea. So I don't do any gloves because, if I had a glove and I spilled it into the glove, then my hand is screwed. So no gloves. And yeah, spilled a little bit too much with that demonstration. So yeah, the other, liquid nitrogen burns. It's like only if you have long exposure. Obviously, don't cup your hand and pour it in. That's going to be problematic. But small spills will really just mostly bounce right off of you in a way. The other concern with liquid nitrogen is it has a 1 to 700 expansion ratio. For every liter of liquid nitrogen you evaporate, you get 700 liters of nitrogen gas at atmospheric pressure. So, on Earth, you get 700 liters. This pure nitrogen gas will displace oxygen over time. So, and the problem is, your body does not register a lack of oxygen. It registers too much CO2. If you replace all the atmosphere, like all the air in a room with nitrogen, you would not feel like you're choking. You would just you'd get dizzy from the oxygen deprivation, and you'd pass out, and then you'd die. So I'm probably going to end up opening a window soon. Actually, I'll just do that now anyway. There we go. So there, that's for safety. And if I get dizzy, then, I just go over to the window and I'm fine. So safety-wise, liquid nitrogen is pretty easy to work with, in my opinion. Getting it is a bit hard. Storing it is a pain. But, you know, as long as you don't do outright stupid things with it, then it's safe. So let's get on to the system. So this is still full. I'm not going to pour that back in. Here we go. And yeah, you can't see anything, so I'll expose this more. Go. Okay, well, that's decent visibility. So, what do we have here? So this is a V1000 Cooler Master power supply. I like it. To be fair, I also got sponsored by Cooler Master for one of these things. I have two of them. So one of them's out of my pocket, one of them is a sponsorship. I like this power supply. It's nice, small, compact. It's great for traveling to overclocking events. And otherwise, it performs great. I think it's Seasonic internals, but don't quote me on that. The heatsink right now, this is from pre-testing. This is just a Fantex PHTC 14 PE. One of my favorite, well, I have two of these things, and I just like them because they're relatively cheap, and I always fan swap them. So I used to run two of these on this. So I always fan swap these things. They perform really nicely with high RPM fans. And that's coming off like now, so that doesn't really matter at this point because I've tested the system earlier today that it boots. So I don't need to deal with that any longer. So yeah, RAM is an XMS3 stick Corsair. And I didn't have any mounts on it. Again, pre-testing. So motherboard. This is a Sabertooth 990FX Revision 2. It's pretty much the second best motherboard for AM3 plus overclocking. If you wanted to go more budget, there's the UD3, and if you wanted to go completely all out, there's the Crosshair V Formula Z, which I don't have. I used this in a daily build for about a year, and then it became my liquid nitrogen motherboard because AMD stuff is cheap to bench. The graphics cards is an 5870, and this is just completely reference, and I'm using a Samsung SSD. And that's because I got it secondhand. Basically, RAM is secondhand, CPU is secondhand, graphics card is secondhand, and the SSD is secondhand. All of them from CEX. So I'm a massive CEX fan because cheap computer parts are the best thing ever. So yeah, if you look at the motherboard, you'll notice. Actually, I'll just pull the graphics card off for a bit. So there's a few changes to this motherboard from a normal Sabertooth. First of all, this red stuff, that's just Plastidip to prevent any condensation from getting onto the motherboard. I benched this motherboard at a overclocking event earlier this year, and I found out I had a massive problem with the this area. There was like basically it seemed to get waterlogged over there, and I had maybe 30 minutes or an hour before the system would just stop working due to water buildup in this area. So I re-insulated that area, and basically the plan is I'll eventually redo the whole motherboard in black and just paint it again in some different color. Because, you know, you might as well fail in style if you're going to fail. I did rip off the tabs on the PCIe slots that are usable for graphics cards because that makes pulling graphics cards in and out easy. And yeah, so I'm just going to start going with preparing the system. So basically, there's Plastidip on everything to keep it from to prevent water from getting on things. But also, as well as the Plastidip, I use Armaflex to insulate things. So there's Armaflex over the. I'm gonna try get the camera closer to this. I have no idea. There we go. So there. So you know these are just cut to shape. And yeah, and I'll have to unplug this so that I can get the pot mounted on there soon. And I'll also have to undo the basically everything at this point. So yeah, I'll just leave that like that. So yeah, and then I just layer on Armaflex on top of everything to get more insulation. Because basically the liquid nitrogen, it'll get the pot, right, this thing for the liquid nitrogen, it'll get that super cold, and then it freezes through into the motherboard, and everything starts getting covered in ice. And ice is good, water is bad, and you basically want the air exposure to be minimal, so there's Armaflex to keep the cold parts colder. So I'm going to start preparing the board now. And yeah, so that means Oh yeah, and I'll go over the liquid nitrogen pot. So basically this is a liquid nitrogen pot. Can you, yeah, okay. So as you can see, it has some holes down inside. That's to give it more surface area. This is basically, this bottom part is a solid block of copper. It's very, very heavy. I think it's around 1.5 kilos, slightly less than that. And yeah, and the top part, this black part, is anodized aluminum. And yeah, and you pour liquid nitrogen in there, and it has to be so heavy to get you some thermal capacity. So when the CPU warms up, you know, you have some time before the pot starts warming up. So yeah, let's get to this. So this is my bottom side Armaflex sheet. This is already prepped for AMD from use with several different AMD motherboards at this point, I think. So I'll just get this through the holes, and that should be the hole there. There we go. Get this, and that'll go under the motherboard with the pot mount. So that's that. And yeah, I'm just using a motherboard box to hold everything. There. So that's that. And I use this foam to keep because the Armaflex would just sag off the sides. So I put some foam under the motherboard to keep the Armaflex touching the bottom properly. There. And so now everything is mostly ready. Now I'll get rid of the current thermal paste. For thermal paste with LN2, the best paste to use is Thermal Grizzly Cryonaut. I don't have any of it because it's really expensive. And so I'm just using Cooler Master EC1, which is pretty much the best budget paste for LN2. It's not the best stuff ever to use with LN2, but you can do a lot worse with a lot of different other pastes. And I need light, so give me a second. Whomp. Did I fold that up badly? That's going to come down once I throw the graphics card on there, so that's fine. Sorry. And, well, first I'll get this on. And I think I cut it this way. It does say top. Damn it, where's that hole? So, go. And yeah, while I'm working with the system, I won't be answering questions when I'm just... So, there we go. This should line up perfectly, assuming I didn't do anything. Yeah. Okay, so obviously keep the CPU exposed. Keep everything else covered in Armaflex. So let's just shove it down in between that memory spot. Don't want another flood happening. So there we go. That's all nice and in place now. And I think I forgot a set of screws. Oh, well, that'll be fine. So, okay, so that's done. Now I have this to cover up these RAM slots here. They're covered in just electrical tape as well, but you know, that's there to keep them freezing through, from freezing through. And now I'll do the thermal paste and throw the pot on right after that. And I just go really liberal because, as I said earlier, it'll just squirt out the sides. And you just need to get, like, you need to get all of the IHS covered, but it doesn't matter how well covered it is because these pots are so heavy that if there's, like, there's not going to be any massive air bubbles down there. So I'm just going to stick this on there. And, yeah, that's going to get that pressure on it. Yeah, and I have a K-type thermal probe in there so I can monitor as I pull it down. It doesn't go all the way to minus 200 because it stops working at around minus 140, but at least down to minus 140 I'll know what temperature it is, and then I'll just take it full pot from there. And by full pot I mean I'll have so much liquid nitrogen in this thing that it'll literally have liquid nitrogen in it all the time. I don't want to flash freeze the board because obviously that would screw with the thermal paste, so I'll take it pretty gently to start with on the cooldown there. And that should keep everything nice and snug and prevent most water buildup on the pot, so there shouldn't be too much rundown. And I think I should have done some shop towel. Oh well. Just gonna get some kitchen towel in there to pull anything up. So yeah, I did this rushed. Sorry about that. I get nervous on these streams as hell. I'd usually just pull it down over, but should work fine. So yeah, I usually used to do it that I would put in the paper before I put everything else on, but then I'd get paper between, like, I remember one case where I was doing an athlon and I ended up with there being paper between the CPU and the pot. So now I mount the pot first and then do the paper, so that doesn't happen again. And this is just to obviously absorb any water coming down from the top. So yeah, you can use cloth and other things, but paper, once it freezes over, it's fine. So I don't really care that it gets all soggy once I tear the system down. Go, and this should be the last one. There, that's nice and good, tight against the pot. Pull this down on top of that. Now I can start with the mountings. Get this cable out of the way. That'll fit. There we go. There. Okay, that's aligned. And now onto the springs. So I just need O-rings. These are there so I don't scratch up the very nice top mount. They don't really, well, they do help with getting the springs screwed down properly, but they're not that useful. So there we go. 970 gaming boards have heat issues. Yep, you really need to watch the VRM on those. Well, damn it. Can't get this last one out. Oh, what I'd give to have longer nails. There we go. That's 2, 3. Where's the 4th one? Did I lose an O-ring? Is this? No, that's plastic. Is this one? That's also plastic. Damn it. I guess I lost an O-ring. Oh well. That'll be fine. Springs. I'll do one without an O-ring, so. Go. And I'll just let that sit on the springs at first. There we go. Because I want to make sure that they're all evenly, roughly the same pressure on them, but that's not going to work because of that foam down there. Yeah, so I'm going to press this down manually first. Oh, whoa, that foam is putting up a lot of resistance. I mean Armaflex, not foam. I tried running this with foam, but the freaking water buildup was really bad, and this Armaflex tube is a little too tall. I should have probably trimmed it when I was doing all my other preparations, but oh well. I'm gonna roll with it anyway. Yeah, so now it's just tighten everything down properly. And, you know, at this point, it's pretty much prepared to run. I heard something pop off the bottom. Nope, all the screws are still good. It used to be a major problem I had at before because I used a different way of attaching the screws on the bottom of these giant, well, no, the nuts on the bottom of these screw rods. I used to attach them differently, and they'd keep coming off every time I was mounting the pot, so at least that's sorted for today. Let's get these down nice and tight. I shouldn't be stopping any time now. Oh, go. This one a little more. And this one needs to go down fully. And I think I'm flexing the board at this point. Yep, I am. But it'll be fine. Pop the graphics card back in. And at this point, I can probably just run a test boot as soon as I get all the cables reattached. So that's this one. And where did my 8-pin go? There we go. There. So that's all ready. This is all ready to roll now. Well, should be. I don't like how this foam is so tall. It wasn't this tall when I was pre-testing. I don't know. Maybe the rear foam collapsed or something. Is there? Yeah. This thermos holds really well. Like, the nitrogen is just still in here. It's not boiling in the slightest. So, yeah. And I will hook up the thermal probe to the pot. And so, there's my thermometer. Set it to temperature, so 24 degrees right now, so that's just ambient. And mind you, I've turned off the house heating, so that's just normal now. I guess it's the Fury X's the Fury X. I pulled the other cards out of my main system, so I'll just fire this up at this point. There's no need to pull it down this early. How much can you see? There we go. Okay, so let's just get in the BIOS. So there's an LED right under the Armaflex there, which I can just barely see, which tells me if the CPU is broken. There's an LED over here that tells me if the RAM is broken, and there's another one under the graphics card, which you can't see, but I can see when I sit down. So yeah, we're in the BIOS right now. CPU is already dumping heat on the pot, so I'll just pull that down a little. Not going to pour a whole lot yet. So yeah, so system's just set up for 4.5 gigahertz right now. I think I'm just going to start right off the bat with yeah, so RAM's at 1600 megahertz, 999 timings, and that's just so that the CPU doesn't have a problem with the RAM. Temperature's already coming down, so I'll give it a tad more. And I'll just do some, yeah, so CPU temperature 27 degrees, pot temperature 24, so that's actually really good. The reading the motherboard is giving me is from the motherboard sensor. So basically, there's a very small temperature difference between the CPU and the pot, which is great, because if it was a big temperature difference, it would tell me that the pot is mounted like crap. And since this just went down 1 degree, this just went down 1 degree, so obviously these are pretty much in sync. So I'll just pull this down while watching the temperatures. Those sensors stop reading at, I think, -20, and at that point I just disable them, as well as I disable all the voltage monitoring and all the other sensors, because this motherboard has a lot of check-ins on, well, you know, a lot of motherboards have safety checks to prevent you from blowing them up. And blowing up the CPU, obviously. So, like, this motherboard starts complaining if I feed it more than 1.6 volts, and I don't want to listen to the motherboard telling me that I'm doing something wrong. So yeah, pot's at 15. I want to get the pot really quickly below, basically at this point I want to freeze the pot, because, again, water is bad, ice is fine, ice is not conductive. And the worst condensation I've ever seen was around 7 degrees water. That was a disaster. which was with a tech-cooled, so Peltier element cooled setup. So pot's at 9. I want to get it sub-0 soon. Okay, so that's reasonably filled up. I'm gonna fill up my thermos again. Figure out how to do this so that I don't get the Dior everywhere. Up. There we go. Okay, so it looks like the boil off from this thing's getting better. Damn, this thing is heavy. And it sloshes so much. And straight down to 0 now. Damn it, I got a lot on the carpet. That'll be fine. There we go. How full is this? Okay, yeah. Okay, now I have a pretty much full thermos. How's the pot doing? It's just at 1. And straight down to 0 now. Okay. Pure water is non-conductive too, but, you know, once it runs down an aluminum pot and a copper pot, and an aluminum and copper pot along with all this other stuff, it's conductive. So, okay, we're already minus on the pot, so that's good. The motherboard's reading 9 degrees. There we go. So that's all running fine now. And I'll get a fan over the RAM slots so that this stupid cable out of the way. So that this doesn't start freezing over. There we go. So just get some airflow so that I minimize the water buildup in that area. This fan is running away. Oh, these fans are great. I'm like a huge fan of this thermal right fan. They're 2.5k RPM, and as you can tell, they're relatively quiet, right? So, just gonna get this out of the way of the fan. Don't want that coming into it. Stupid zip tie. So, motherboard's reading -2 now. And I think I'm probably gonna go and get me another pouring thing. There we go. So motherboard at -4, pot's at -20. Yeah, okay, it's not freezing through very quickly at this point. So since we're already below 0, I'm gonna try boot 5+ gigahertz straight into Windows. So let's roll. So 25 multiplier, and there's a funny thing about the FX chips. They don't really like multipliers over 28. So they certainly don't work at 32. I know that for a fact. And let's get that away from the 5870. That thing, yeah, that thing's spitting off hot air. So this is just configured for 5 at 1.5, and let's load up Windows. And I'm probably going to have to move you so that you can actually see what I'm doing in Windows. So let's get this box here, and I'll sit the camera on that. Is it not booting? No, it's booting fine. There we go. What the hell? Is the SSD dead? Oh, come on, no. So I'll move you so that you can see Windows at this point. Let's see, will this work? Damn it, so many cables to work with. And I'll configure the camera after I have this Start it up. Where's the fan not starting? There we go. Well, this is problematic. Okay, there we go. It's booting. CPU fan error, that's fine. Boot. So the SSD is being... What? Oh, you stupid motherboard. Silly, silly motherboard. So, what on earth? Why is the... Oh, I'm a retard. So, I forgot to plug in the SSD into the motherboard. So yeah, nope, I didn't break anything yet. I just forgot to plug in the SSD. So, applause for me. So yeah, what's the temperature like? Still minus 30. That's all hot. And we got Windows working. So yeah, even the best of us forget to plug in cables. Stupid cables. I don't really think I want to. And the mouse decided to not work. Man, I love this system. Screw you. There we go. So the resolution's all broken, which will be fixed in a jiffy. Do not worry. Apply. Keep changes. Thank you very much. And let's rock and roll. So this is already at 5 gigahertz. And obviously you can't see anything because I'm a moron. Well, you still can't see anything. So that's 5. Just believe me on that. Sorry about not having a capture card. It costs roughly as much as this CPU. So, you know where the money for the capture card went. How cold can you push a 9590? I can run it at as low as the LN2 goes. I don't have liquid helium to figure out where it would stop working. So, the motherboard is worried about the CPU. And I'm going to disable all that soon, so... There we go. So, we're at minus 20. It might validate 5.3 at this point. And I really should have cut out another CPU. And I'm going to disable all that soon, so... There we go. So we're at minus 20. It might validate 5.3 at this point. And I really should have cut out another piece of bottle for the pot, but well, whatever. And AI Suite seems to have decided it's not going to work. Well, that's fine, because the GPU drivers aren't working right now. So I'll just restart the system, and... I should have realized that if I move the GPU down a slot, it would need to reinstall drivers, but well, what will I do about it now? I just won't care. So yeah, so now Windows should be working properly. Yeah, okay, yeah, the resolution's now fine. The mouse is still refusing to cooperate. I think I should have used a dumber mouse. And it's still refusing to cooperate. There we go. Okay, so now AI Suite should work. And this time I'm just going to pin AI Suite to the taskbar. So pin, close it, and now I'm going to restart the system into BIOS. So I can try boot higher frequency. Pot's at minus 48. Cherry blue switches for the win. I don't know if anyone can hear the clicking because I have a mic on a headset. So that's that. Fill up the pot. So yeah, that's 5G right now. Like that. So I'm just going to try boot 5.4. And I'm going to pull up the voltage already. So 1.65. So this is about 1.65 volts. is about where you'd want to stop with an FX chip on water cooling. So yeah, at this point, I'm gonna ignore, 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 cause stuff's just gonna get weird. Ignore. Disable. Yeah, so that's all disabled. That's not available, so that's great. Save changes, reboot. Further away from your mouth. Okay. There, is that better for the mic? CPU's at minus 60-ish. And not booting by the... Okay, now it booted. Yep. I told it to ignore them. Yep, Windows is gonna start. So yeah, the cold alone lets the CPU start up properly. And the mouse decided to be useless again. Oh. Spilled a little there. The fan seems fine, so the fan is fine. AI tweak. CPU Z. And yeah, that's 5.4. So let's pull up. I'm just gonna crash it at this point. I don't need to validate, like I'm not worried about really anything until I'm well above. Why is AI sweep being weird? Why is that coming up again? Huh. It might not be stable enough. There we go. Stupid thing. Evo. There we go. So more settings, CPU ratio. And, oh, I only have one core enabled already. Oh, that's what I get from pre-testing. So I'm going to have to fill up the thermos again. So I'm just going to fill up the pot and do the thermos quickly. Okay, this is about as full as I can get the thermos. There, close the DWAR again, and back to the system. 5.4 seems to be working like a charm. CPU is at minus 78 right now. Well, the pod is. And I'll just keep pulling it down. So, minus 80. Okay, so I'm going to give it a tap more voltage since it's already really cold. Yes. And let's pull up that multiplier. 5.5 works. 5.6 works. This chip is already... 5.7 works. And at this point, it should start being weird. So, okay, I'll pull that one back down. And now I'm going to start probably getting a RAM problem. But whatevs. Let's see, I'll hit it with that. No, that's probably going to crash. I wish I could type into this program, but AI Suite is too stupid to allow that. Yes. Oh, there we go. 6 gigahertz already. 6. So that's nice. And yeah, and I'm not even like anywhere near properly frozen with this. So this is gonna go really well by the looks of it. This CPU is hugely better than the last FX CPU I tried on LN2, which was an 8320E. And admittedly, the motherboard was kind of garbage, but it wasn't so garbage that I would say it was a massive problem. So I'm gonna pull the CPU to around 1.75, which incidentally I've run 1.75 through a water-cooled setup once. That was with an Athlon 2-core. That was the 370K, I think. And I just gave it so much voltage. And the chip didn't degrade. It didn't even die. It didn't even run very hot, but that's because it's a 2-core. So now I'm just going to keep cranking up the FSB. Eventually, it's going to be the RAM that craps out here. So that's 6.3 gigahertz. This is the, yeah, this is basically already beating the A320E, which would bench at 6.3. So, yeah. So let's go up another notch. I'm going to start incrementing in 5 megahertz steps from now on. And I hear the pot ran dry. So 6.4. This might be the quickest 8 gigahertz, quickest run to 7 gigahertz ever at this rate, if this CPU doesn't start behaving weirdly. Because right now it's just going up and up and up. Oh, it's so good when things are going good. So now it's at 6.6. Almost 6.6, not exactly. Pot keeps running dry at this point. That might be more because it's dumping, it's the surroundings are eating away at the cooling potential, not necessarily the CPU. It's at minus 102 degrees. The sensor's going to stop working soon. I'm going to fill it up. After that, I'm just going to try keep the pot full. So, that's a racket. So far, it looks like my insulation is holding up really well. Much better than at the last LN2 overclocking event I went to. So, that's good. That fan sucks the LN2 from the thermos. Like, literally, I see it pull the LN2 across, so... Too much power on the fan. I did not think that would be a problem, but, well... So, everything's happy. Pot's at minus 20. Give the CPU 1.8. Well, minus 120. And start raising frequencies again. Eventually, I'll have to start dealing with the RAM. But considering what the RAM is, like, designed to do... is probably far off. 6.8. I'm going to break my own record in... Oh, it crashed. Okay. So I guess I have to behave a little more... Okay, so I know it'll boot 6. So I'm already at the brink of my record, and I don't even have it on full pot yet. So... And is it not booting? What's glowing red? CPU LED is not complaining, so that's fine. I guess I'll just give it a quick on-off. RAM. Yep, it's booting fine. It's coming back. Pot went back up in temperature. You know what? I'm just going to pull the system just to completely frozen at this point. I'm just going to make it ignore those so it stops giving me that CPU fan error. There we go. Ignore. And I'm just going to totally freeze the system now. Because, yeah, and I'm going to take the multiplier to 28 because that's where it's going to stay. And I'm going to underclock the RAM a lot to make sure that I don't have to deal with RAM issues. 1.8. And I'm going to set up the VRM now. So it's already set to high. But I'll do extreme, because this motherboard doesn't actually go as high voltage as I'd need. So usually the world record chips do world records at around 2.1, 2.2 volts. Somewhere between those two. This motherboard only goes to 2.075, but with the use of Extreme LLC, I can probably get it to provide some extra voltage, because Extreme LLC is never calibrated properly. Northbridge can stay the way it is. Current capability, I don't really care about that. I don't care about that either. Power phase control extreme, and I'll clean up the power. So yeah, this motherboard doesn't go maximum, so I'll just pull it to 480 kilohertz. which cleans up the it cleans up the voltage from the VRM, and I'm having a hard time pulling this pot down. I need to shut up and cool. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna need to resupply on LN2 soon. That fan needs to stop stealing all the LN2 I pour. I need to deal with that somehow. I don't know, if I hang you off of here, will you stop? Oh, that's better. A little less awkward for me to hold. So yeah, if you just want to look at the system at this point, it looks like this. I've moved the fan because I was having a hard time with it stealing all the... Well, it was getting in the way with pouring, so... There we go. And yeah. And as you can see, the pot is a few degrees below 100. And I'm all out of LN2 at this point on the thermos. So I'm going to have to go fill up after this last pour. And that cracking, that's just normal. Up. Go for another refill. There we go. I should have gotten a bigger thermos, probably. You know what? I'll put the DWAR on my couch so that it's easier to pour. Because right now it's being a real pain to tilt it enough. Oof. Holy crap, this thing is heavy. It's almost half my own weight. Damn it. Whew. Stupid heavy thing. And this mic cable is going to be a pain. Now it does make pouring much easier. And I think that should be a full thermos at this point. Maybe it's not. Who cares? So close the DWAR again. Don't want any excess boil off. And back to pouring. I bet it got really warm in that time. It did. I think this thermal paste, if I remember correctly, gives up at around 160 below zero. But that's more from thermal stress, and right now everything should be really low power, so it shouldn't really be a concern. That pot is just not moving down. I'm starting to wonder if the probe isn't giving up already. Because that's a full pot. Or that CPU is kicking out way more heat than I think it is. No, it's okay, it's starting to move now. So yeah, right now it looks like this inside the pot. I don't know if you can see anything really. Go. Yeah, I can't seem to get it much below minus. And I think the probe is kill. Because it's stuck at one. It's just reading random shit all now. Yeah, there's no way the temperature is going up and down like that. I think the probe's dead. Welp, that makes my life a lot harder. I don't know what temperature it's at. Yep, that probe's dead. Well, that's useless at this point. So I'll just keep the pot full at this point and hope for the best, because I don't know what temperature it is. So I'll hit it with 1.9 to start with, and just start off at 250 by 28, so that will give me 7. That's too much. 245. That's where I last stopped. So save changes and reset. Is the probe behaving better? Oh, now it's at minus 140. RAM is good. Boot LED is good, so everything is booting up fine. The probe is completely screwed. I need to get a better thermometer and a better probe, and of course the mouse doesn't work again. Nor does the keyboard. Well, that sucks. Let's see if I can just get it to work again. Huh? Well, mouse decided to work before the keyboard did this time. Yeah, CPU. I thought I turned off the CPU temperature probes, and that one's broken at this point. I know it stops at 120. Like, yeah. So 6.8 gigahertz in Windows right now, and that's where my last CPU stopped working. Admittedly, that could have been the motherboard's fault because it couldn't do as much voltage. So there we go. That's CPU Z. And is the pot still full? Pot's still full. So let's rock and roll and break 7 at this point. So I'm not even like getting into the really high voltage ranges yet, so I'm happy. Because it's at 1.9 and it's almost 7 gigahertz. So that means if this chip is good, I still have 200 megahertz to go. No, 200 millivolts to go. Not megahertz. There we go. I have a full gigahertz to go before everything is fine. So yeah, let's pull it up to see if, let's see if it just does 7 now. Huh, 7 works. That's nice. And at this point, I'm going to save my first validation because while 7 isn't very much, it's way more than I did last time. So if you're doing a CPU-Z validation, you do it through this window. And for extreme overclocking, you take this, which lowers the load because CPU-Z does a little bit of encryption so that people can't cheat on the files. And I'll just save that. And I have a flash stick that I use for all my saves. So I'll just save this as FX9590. 959. Save. Please don't crash. Please don't crash. Please don't crash. Please don't. Yes! Didn't crash. Yes. That alone is an achievement. Passing CPU-Z. Okay. So 7 gigahertz down. 1 more gigahertz to go. Let's rock and roll. And I'll just keep the pot filled up. So far, I've only burnt 4 liters of liquid nitrogen, so that means we have 4 liters to go. And I'll just hit the CPU with 1.95 volts. And I wish I had probes on the CPU to figure out what voltage it's running at. So 7.16 working. And I'll point you, there we go. Can you see that? 7.16 is working. Apply a new setting. 7.3 working. Okay, I'll validate this because this is decently high. 9590. Save. Yes, replace that, please. Save, 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 save. Please save. Yes. Okay, so that worked. Up we go. 265 FSB. So 7.4 gigahertz working. Great. Fill up the pot. So basically at this point the pot is actually non-stop full with liquid nitrogen. So at this point it should be at around minus 196. So that's that. and I'll give the RAM a tad more voltage so that it handles a tad more frequency, but at this point it still shouldn't be very high. I think the RAM is at like 1500 at around this point. So 7.444 working. So let's do 270. Yes! 7.6 working. Well, you know, I need to save the validation, but let's rock and roll. This should like have an option to like save my preferred save settings. I'm just going to start saving them to the desktop. I can withdraw them from the hard drive whenever. Yes, replace. Save, save, save. Please save. Yes! Okay, so 7 point... Oh, that's basically 7.6 at this point. This chip looks really good. Like, really, really good. 7.725. Validate that. Man, this is by far... Yes, just replace it. Please save, please save. Give it a touch more LN2, because every time I try to save, it puts load on the CPU. Is the RAM even getting cold? Yeah, okay, the RAM is getting cold, but it looks but the condensation isn't catching up yet, so it looks like I did a good job with all the insulation. There's guys like who are way better than me who can run like a system for like 3 hours straight, or even 5. But well, I've managed to occasionally run systems for 5 hours, but this motherboard crapped out between half an hour and an hour, so I'm concerned while running this thing. Please. Yes. So that's 7.8. Rock and rollin'. Save validation. Yeah, just save that to the flash stick. Please save. Please, please save. Okay, so that's saved. I'm going to hit it with 2. Well, yeah, I'm just going to hit it with more voltage at this point because I want to not crash out of Windows if that's possible. Poor. So here's another reason why I'm doing all the overclocking from inside Windows, which is usually not advisable. It's because Windows startup is actually relatively CPU heavy. I checked the current on my 5960X when starting up Windows 7, and for basically the duration of the loading of Windows, you get roughly 80% of TDP. So, well, you get like 80% of maxed power draw, so that's great. So I'm just doing a refill right now. Oh, spilled it on myself, spilled it on the carpet. I need to get a better DWAR. Well, don't need to get a better DWAR. I need to not suck at pouring so much, because I'm wasting LN2 a lot. Let's roll. Yeah, okay, this pot, at this point, yeah, this is at minus 196. I mean, it still hasn't evaporated from when yeah, the pot hasn't gone empty. So I'm keeping a good job on the LN2 dosing. To be fair, one core is really easy to manage. Running something like a 5960X on LN2, that's a challenge. 8 gigahertz, ladies and gents! Woo! Air horns, please. Can I get it to focus? Yeah, world record is 8.8, but I never thought I'd even break 8. So this chip is excellent. I really, like, a lot of people think the 9590 is not good for Extreme OC. There. 806. So I'm going to validate that. And we're not even at 2 volts. We're not even at 2 volts. We got a long way to go before I'm stopping. So to get top 50 in the world, I need 8.2 gigahertz. Well, I don't even need 8.2. I need like 8.1.3 because the number 50 mark is removable disk E, and I want to save this as 959. Save. Please save. Please don't crash. Yes! This CPU kicks ass. This CPU is so awesome. Oh my god. I'm in the 8 gigahertz club. Okay, so. Oh, yay. This is truly. Like, this is a historic moment for me. I'm in the 8 gigahertz club. And I've been in just an hour. So I got a long, long way to go before we can call this quits. If I break 9 gigahertz, I'm gonna be like that. That's just gonna be, you know, epic. So let's go 290 megahertz. I'm gonna give the CPU 2 volts full now, because please, and that doesn't work. So it crashes just above 8. There's more in this though. There's definitely more in this. I can definitely get that more. So yeah. So that's my first validation. So I'm gonna try boot in at 200 voltage. That I'm gonna. So I'm not this. What I've been told is this is the PLL voltage for AMD CPUs. Let me just get the exposure in check. There, volts 1.4 north bridge to get the, you know, to get everything happy. This voltage that I'm gonna. So I'm not this. What I've been told is this is the PLL voltage for AMD CPUs. Let me just get the exposure in check. There, that's PLL for AMD. On Intel, usually you pull that really down. I'm gonna pull it. I'm gonna try just 2.6. Maybe it'll help. 1.65 on the RAM. I think actually the sweet spot for this set of RAM is 1.75, if my memory served me correctly. There's a sticker on that stick which tells me what voltage it's best at, but I can't check the sticker when it's in the system. RAM check. Boot LED not coming up. What's wrong? Come on. Boot, baby. And boot, it doesn't. Let's see. CPU LED blinking, memory. Come on. Boot, damn it. Okay, so I think extra PLL screwed it. Which is fine, because I can fix that. We have a MemOK button. So that's the, and I should have saved a profile. Oh well. So the nice thing about this board that I really like, compared to, and we're in. We're back in the BIOS. So it's not dead, but yeah. The Asus Sabertooth Revision 2, it has this button called MemOK. And basically that button will delete all your memory related settings. So that includes some CPU settings, and yeah, I need to pull the pot down. Ooh, I let the pot get empty. Well, that's all for being excited. Now I need to pull it back down. I need to get it back to the point where it just stays full. Because a full pot is a happy pot. There we go. German engineering destroying all my LN2. There we go. Because the pot I'm using is a Der Bauer Fusion 3 point something. I think it's 3.1. So I need to redo all the settings now, so that's nice. 28. No, 28. I know. Nope, that's not 28. That's 18. That still full. There we go. Yeah, this insulation is doing way better than what I tried running last time. I was doing LN2, so I'll just try 285 for boot up. The RAM won't work at that frequency. I know that for a fact. CPU North Bridge. I'm gonna try underclock everything in order to get the CPU happier. Because if I underclock everything else, that means less heat, so the cores of the CPU get colder. Oh yeah, the 9590 is made in Germany because that's Global Foundries 32 nanometer process there. Disable that. That's disabled. That's good. DRAM timing. So 99927. That's basically everything else on auto, so that the motherboard can deal with it. That's it's like the thing that separates a lot of the good from the bad motherboards is how they handle RAM. So yeah. DRAM OC profile. Why is it that high? Oh, well, whatever. I manually overrode all the frequencies anyway, so yeah, voltages are in check. RAM voltage, 1.7. And this should just boot straight up, and I need to fill the pot back up because it's getting empty. And as soon as this loads up Windows, I'm going for another refill because now it's really starting to chew through LN2. Oops! I just had ice fall on my GPU. And yeah, it's booting. It's booting again. So I'll put you back on the system cam. I should, even if I just had 2 cameras, this would be easier. Oh well, streaming card's more important probably. There we go. So, you can now see the system, which means I need to redo the exposure settings. There we go. And I keep losing the keyboard for some reason, so that's really odd. At least the keyboard, there we go. This is empty. This is empty, that's not good. And, okay, there, the mouse revived. And I need another fill up. So that's what I'm gonna do now. Hopla. If by some miracle this CPU breaks the world record, I'm gonna be super, super happy. But if I just see that, like, here's the plan. If I don't go super far with this CPU right now, if I find out that the CPU seems to be more capable than what this motherboard can allow, did Windows just died? Why? Huh, I just guess it's just unstable then. Pull that back up. Keep that full. Is it booting properly? Seems to be booting all right. No errors that I can see. And it doesn't want to start. Please don't tell me it's the motherboard. Okay, no, that's the boot LED glowing, so that means it's going to start. 7. Start Windows normally. I wonder why it's being... I don't think it's going to start. Come on. Must keep that pot full. Okay, that's barely below spilling level. Windows is being a pain again. So, there we go. Mouse is back. So I think this is just 8 gigahertz straight. Yeah, this is just straight 8 gigahertz right now. Close that. And it's dead. Yep, it's dead again. So now I'll go for the BIOS. Come on. Boot. Doesn't want to boot again. This is bad. CPU, DRAM, boot device, please. Is this... That's still dry, so the RAM is not getting any wet. So obviously my installation, it seems to be working fine as far as I can tell. There could be some serious issues below all the Armaflex, but hey, I can't see through Armaflex. And I still can't get in the BIOS. So that's problematic. I'm gonna memo K this. I'm going for top 20 at this point. So I'm going to try boot lax settings now. So I'm just going to put it into manual mode. That's disabled. 28 multiplier, you know, just going to try boot 270. So that's 7.5 gigahertz. Memory frequency, and I think it was a RAM problem last time, so I'm going to underclock the RAM further. Not going to play with the RAM voltage this time around. I'm just going to put it back at 1.65. Going to pull the PLL back to what it's normally at. Keep the north bridge high. Spread spectrums. There we go. Going to underclock the north bridge and underclock the HT link just to see if that might not help. And yeah, DRAM timings, of course, 999, 27. Well, actually, this likes 24. That could have been it. I should have prepped a notepad with what settings this RAM likes. Or I should have used a different. Nope, don't want that. Power control. Power control settings are good. That's fine. Manual adjustment, ultra fast. So that all looks like it's set up properly at this point. North bridge voltage, VDD, reset. And I'm just going to try boot it at 7.5 now, because obviously it doesn't like trying to boot at 8. And I think that was more of a RAM problem than CPU frequency, but... Come on. Okay, boot device LED is glowing, so that means everything is in check, and we have Windows back. How hard is it to LN2 cool a GTX 1080? Considering that it's probably going to use very little power, it should be pretty easy. But the other problem is we don't know how TSMC's new 14 nanometer process behaves on LN2. You know, so like AMD CPUs are fun to do LN2 with because they don't, you know, like I have a full pot on there and it's not stopping, which basically means the CPU doesn't it doesn't error out from cold. And I explained that on my YouTube channel, how that occurs. So yeah, but oh right, TSMC 16. Sorry, not 14. So yeah, it depends on how TSMC 16 nanometer behaves on liquid nitrogen. Intel's 32 nanometer on nitrogen was a disaster. It broke. It stopped working at like minus 70 degrees. So you know, it was a nightmare to work with on liquid nitrogen. Whereas AMD's 32 nanometer, which is made by Global Foundries, runs just fine with this. So yeah. The new Skylake CPUs work at minus 200, but the problem with Skylake CPUs is they have a they tend to crack the thermal paste that people use with them. So like you're benchmarking, you start up a benchmark, and as the benchmark starts running and starts producing heat, you hear this really loud crack. And I've heard that because there was guys benching Skylake at the event I went to earlier this year, and that giant crack basically tells you your thermal paste just disconnected from the CPU, and everything is screwed. And I'm going to try higher multiplier this time. So 7.8 is working. So that's good. Let's try raise the FSB back to 280. No. 275. Yes. So 8 gigahertz again, working. I'm going to do 272. So, and that breaks. So I need way more voltage, apparently. Okay, we can supply that. I still have 75 millivolts left on this motherboard. How's the VRM on this thing? The VRM is actually warm. This motherboard, yeah, so that basically... Oh, about the soldering on the IHSs with Intel. So Soldered IHSs aren't just about cost-saving things. There's actually like physical issues with soldering IHSs. Der Bauer, the guy who made this LN2 pot, as well as the D-lid tool, as well as one of the first D-lid tools for Skylake, he actually went and tried soldering a Skylake CPU himself, and he basically found it doesn't work at all. It just kept breaking on him. Yeah, the overclocking guide. Whoever dropped that link, that's what I'm talking about. Windows is being weird. Huh. Okay, so 7.5 is working. AI suit's not responding. Wait, there we go. So I'm just gonna slam it with as much voltage as I have now, and hope for the best, because I don't have more volts to go with. Wait, so we're... And I'm gonna try use the 28 multiplier, because before I was using the 285. So that's 8G. Keep that pot full. There we go. So I'm just gonna go slowly now. And it keeps crashing. So I just gave it way more voltage, and it crashed again. I mean, the CPU could have stopped scaling at this point. Or the motherboard just can't deal with it any longer. So... Or maybe the thermal paste gave up and the CPU is really warm. I'm gonna see what the... So keyboard gave up again. Come on. There we go. So, that's interesting. The motherboard seems to have just, like, I don't know. I could blame the motherboard here, but I'm not entirely sure what decided that it can't go further. I want to blame the motherboard, but it could just be the CPU, but still really good for just a random second-hand, 9590 to be an 8 gigahertz chip. And I need another fill-up, and I think I'll make this the last fill-up of today, because I think I've hit the limit. Might try with a different chip, maybe. I don't know. Since the chip's not dead, I could just sell it back to CEX and try buy a 8350 or another FX series CPU. And try again later with a different CPU, but I don't know. If somebody had a 5.5 Air, like 5.5 on 1.6 volts CPU, I'd totally take it. That would probably be what I need, but I don't know. It could just be the motherboard, but I don't have a crosshair to test with, so... Maybe it'll behave better with less voltage. Because, as I said, so the thing about FX chips is that they have a voltage sweet spot somewhere between 1.9 and 2.2, at which they clock their best. The fact that all the world record ones are chips that take a lot of voltage doesn't mean that mine necessarily needs as much voltage to do the same frequencies. So I'll just try that. Huh, that works. So 7.95 with less volts works. Will this work? Okay, so it's not a voltage scaling issue. So it's still voltage. Well, I'm gonna try play with the settings of the VRM in the BIOS again. Hopefully that'll help. But yeah, I think once I run out of LN2 here, I'm gonna just stop, because again, I don't want to waste any LN2. I have a 4790K that I need to LN2 and a and a G3258 that I also need to LN2. So DRAM timings, those are fine. So I'll put you back on the watching my monitor position, so you have some idea of what I'm doing. Also, I keep putting that freaking thermos in front of the GPU that keeps kicking out heat on it. So lower the exposure again so you can see something. I'm just gonna try. So this would normally clean up voltage, and it's just best to run it as high as it goes. And as you can see, it doesn't go up. But a guy who had this board before me and benched a bunch of AMD stuff said it doesn't really work at 500, like it doesn't work at maximum settings, and it's better to run it slightly below that. So I'll try running it slightly below maximum settings to see what happens. And start Windows. And I just think that, yeah, the pod is running empty again. The condensation, though, I mean, I've been running for what? Hour 30 minutes? So yeah, my new insulation is infinitely better than my old insulation, so at least I have some confidence when I go do the Athlons and the Phenom 2 CPUs that I have in reserve, because they're worth a lot of points on competitive benchmarking. So let's go. Right, and you can't see anything again because too much exposure, or no, it's fine. There we go. So that's not starting for some reason. CPU-Z decided to start. Okay, yeah, everything seems to be working again. And I accidentally opened 2 instances of CPU-Z, so now one of them's broken. Great. And here's the working one. So, I don't know, maybe less Northbridge voltage. You know, try reduce heat output, maybe. Southbridge doesn't matter, that's not on the CPU. Northbridge 1.8 doesn't matter, not on the CPU. Northbridge HT doesn't matter. Well, let's see. 2.05. So that works. It's no longer the CPU's fault, it's the motherboard's fault, because I can't go higher on the voltage and the CPU doesn't seem to care about less voltage. So, yeah, the CPU's fault, it's the motherboard's fault, because I can't go higher on the voltage and the CPU doesn't seem to care about less voltage. So, yeah. I don't know. Let's see what it can do with all 8 cores enabled, just for fun, because, you know, I could empty the thermos back into the DWAR, but let's just see what it can do on 8 cores, just for fun. I'm not going to consider it too wasteful. There, all 8 cores running. Save changes and reset. Let's see what happens. It's going to burn all my LN2 instantly, won't it? Come on. And that looks like it's not going to boot. So with 8 cores, I can't even get 7 working. That's fun. Run, you stupid motherboard. Yep. So 8 cores, and I can't get anything to boot. So right now it's set up for like 7.1 or something. and I can't get 8 cores running, so... Well, there's at least one good core on the entire CPU, that's for sure. But the rest of them seem to suck. Badly. Could also be the motherboard on that as well. V-Droop. I don't have a probe hooked up to the motherboard but right now, but when I checked it manually, the voltages on this thing run huge. And it's blinking RAM error. So, did I get condensation problems again? Please don't be. Yep, that LED blinking is not a good thing. So, I'm just going to show you what I'm seeing right now, because obviously the system isn't doing anything. It's a black screen for you. Oh, there it goes. So, condensation didn't get the board. So that's a win. And I think I'm on stock settings, or mem-OK didn't work, or something. Windows is booting, so that's surprising. That thermos is almost empty. CPU works by the looks of it. Windows is taking forever to load up, though. The mouse works instantly. So let's see. Yeah, it wait, no. Oh, we have 8 cores and they're running 4.7 something. Okay, let's see. 6 gigahertz. Yeah, okay, I'm just gonna, just for fun, I'm gonna show you what they do on 8 cores, and it crashed. Okay, it's not worth it. It's really not worth it. With 8 cores running, this CPU is garbage. It's just crashing all over the place. Like, it just crashed at 6, so... I'm gonna try getting the BIOS one more time and try to get, like, 20 megahertz more than my best, but I don't think it's gonna work. Disable everything. Manual. CPU bus 280. Memory frequency. North Bridge. Okay, that's all good. That's good. Power control is still the same. That didn't change. 2.075. Max out the voltage. Yeah, it won't go higher than that. 2.4. I'm going to try lower VDDA, but I don't think it's going to do anything. 1.65 and... Yeah, I really need a crosshair for this. There'd be more options to play with. Power control's set up. BIOS settings are set up. And if it doesn't work now, then it's never gonna work. And that tells me the nitrogen just gone inside there. Yeah, so basically, if I want to go higher, I think I need a better motherboard, better thermal paste, and that's it. That would probably get another 100, maybe 200 megahertz out of this, but, I don't know, maybe Asus will take pity on me for wearing their shirt and send me a crosshair, but I really doubt that. No, this is it basically. Windows is behaving erratically as always. Give it more juice, and keyboard's still dead. Okay, mouse is back. Let's see. Still boiling, so that's good. Voltages are maxed out. Apply. Huh, so now I can't even get 8. Welp. That sucks. Still booting Windows properly though, but now I really think... I don't think it's water buildup that's the problem. I don't see too much water everywhere, but it looks like... I don't know. Motherboard could be just giving up or something. Platinum power supply worth it over gold. I don't use any platinum power supplies. I only have golds because golds are cheaper. But yeah. VRM temperature on motherboard right now. It's so hot that I can keep my hand on it, which basically means by VRM standards, it's freezing. You know, I could just, right. Technically speaking, it's insulated, so yeah, no, that VRM is cold. The cool thing about running LN2 is it'll usually freeze through all the copper traces in the motherboard into all the other components, which is why when you see those four-way setups, they're all covered in ice. But I'm not running for long enough to have that happen yet, so. Plus, I think I nailed it with my insulation on this board, and this board runs a little hot, so. Come on, load up C. Attach an oscilloscope to the 12.5 and 3. Sure, but I don't think the scope. Let's see. So I do actually have a little scope. Okay, it's a very budget scope, but it works enough. So let's see. I could check the 12 volts, but it probably won't show us anything particularly useful. And this is going to be a pain to hook up. I don't really have any good sources of exposed ground. Well, screw that. Like, here's the thing. I checked this motherboard with a scope in the past, running with, like, actually, no, I checked this power supply running a, 400 or 500 watt load, which is way more than what this CPU is pulling right now. And I was getting like 7 millivolts ripple. So that's definitely, that's like, I can say that's pretty much 99% not the problem. CPU ratio, apply. And try do it all with multiplier. Gonna go lighter on the FSB and see what I can do with apply. Okay, so I'm running the multiplier at 30 now just to see if it might not. Yeah, no, 30 is even less stable than 28, so I don't know, maybe. And this is empty. So I'll try one more boot, try a really, really low CPU multiplier, and see what happens. And that's going to be the end of for today's stream, so yeah. And at this point, I don't think I'm going to save anything worth uploading, so I'm just going to check that the Fire Stick actually has 8 gigahertz saved to it, because if it doesn't, then I'm going to like kill myself at this point, because I can't even get 8 gigahertz to work again. Ask me later. You know, I'd be annoyed if well, actually no, if I find out right now that lower multiplier works like a charm, then I'll continue adding LN2 into the Thermos and keep rolling on with the show, but if I find out it doesn't do anything... Okay, now it's complaining about the PCIe being cold. Is it? Nah, the PCIe is just fine. Everything past the North Bridge is always warm anyway, so... CPU ratio, pull the CPU ratio down to 26. I just have a hunch that the even ratios are more stable. Okay, so let's see. If I run... Yeah, but that also means I need much higher FSB. And that doesn't work either. Yeah, so 300 FSB on this motherboard is just about where this motherboard stops working. So, yeah. I mean, the highest FSB I ever ran on this board is like 330. But running high FSB on this board is not easy. The old 890G, no, FX chipset, that old chipset is much better for high FSB than this one, so. And the system does not want to boot. Well. Okay, well, let's do that one last check that my score is actually scored. And let's see, 9590, I think I called it. Yeah, okay, yeah, the save is on the flash stick. I'll just go to the CPU-Z website and get it verified. What the hell? CPU ID. There we go. How do I get in again? I have forgotten how to log into CPU-Z. That's not good. Oh, there. That's the button. Yep. Okay, yeah, it's already on my account. So let's go select my file. Computer. And 9590. Yeah, so I have several 9590 saves, so let's see. Buildzoid, yeah, it has everything set up correctly. And this isn't going to start up again, so I'm just going to turn that off. And yes, it validated for 8.0. Okay, so I now officially have 8 gigahertz. So that's the end of this stream for today. If you want to see more LN2 overclocking, I plan to do more. Did you spend on LN2? So the LN2 I'm buying is, so it's really super convenient for me. There's a company that does deliveries every 6 weeks, and they basically turn up. I give them the DWAR, they fill it up for me, and I give them a pound a liter. So yeah. So it's like. So it's like 30 pounds for the full DWAR, and this right here was 8 pounds. Well, I think it was 8 pounds of LN2. I need to get a scale so that I can like check how much LN2 I have in my DWAR. But hell, if I go buy a scale, that's going to be less LN2 to buy, and it's going to be less LN2 in the DWAR. Yeah, it's just a pound a liter. So, you know, LN2 is relatively cheap. And if you buy bigger amounts, you can get it even cheaper. And if you go pick it up yourself, there's some places that'll basically almost give it away. I know a few guys who get their LN2 for like $1 a liter. So that's that. Yeah, actually, let's just do a QA session to wrap up this show. You can leave whenever you want, but ask me anything in the chat. I'm free to chat right now. Right, I need to get sexy pictures of the setup, so let me just get that done. And there we go. For anybody who's tuning in late, the whole stream will be up on YouTube probably by tomorrow, maybe in a couple hours, depending on how quick Twitch is at re-uploading it. So there we go. I'm just gonna do pictures with Well, I'm sorry for all the new all the people who turn up late to this. They're not gonna get to see anything any longer because I'm not gonna waste any LN2 now. There we go. Is this not on autofocus? It is. Oh, right, there's no SD card in it. I'm a dumbass. I keep forgetting things. Forget to plug in the hard drive, forget to put the SD card in the camera, forget to, like, I'm gonna forget my own name one day. So, you have to wait to tear down the system. Is it fragile while cold? So here's the thing. Normally, if you wanted to tear one of these down, you just get a hairdryer or a heat gun and you heat gun and hairdryer all the ice off, and it ends up really wet and messy, but you know. You first disconnect all your power cables, you turn off your power supply, which mine's already turned off, then you just hairdryer the thing down, and that's basically the end of it. You take it apart and leave everything to dry somewhere. Um, but because I'm stupid and didn't go get the hairdryer, because I couldn't be bothered going to get a hairdryer, I'm just gonna leave it to, to basically melt and then take it apart when it's all water again. Am I at uni? Yes, I'm studying computer systems engineering. What? Turn the board upside down and let it dry. Yeah, you can actually. You know, here's the thing. I don't want to touch this because all of this is basically at the point if like you lick, like if you get water between your finger and this stuff, it'll freeze your finger to it. Though this actually is normal, but this I'd be worried about. Inside there, dumb. Putting your hand inside there, really, really dumb. Um, so yeah, that's how you get frostbite. Um, yeah, so one of the ways you can do this is you can flip it upside down, put it in a sink, and it'll just soak off. And then the next day you go in, take it apart, or even a couple hours. This usually cleans itself up pretty quick. And that's that. What is your number in the leaderboards for that 8 gigahertz score? I'm just outside top 100, I think, which sucks. Or actually, no, I should be in top 100, but I don't think I'm top 50. If my memory serves me right, because I did check these scores before I went to do them. So let me quickly check the HardwareBot website on CPU frequency. So yeah, top 50 ranking finishes at 8127. Top 100. Yeah, so I'm gonna be number 92. So that's pretty good. I beat a guy who had an 83. Yeah, I beat a bunch of 8350s and a bunch of A10s. Uh, the A10 6800K is pretty good on LN2. Yeah. Yeah, I really think I need a better motherboard and I probably need a better CPU, but like I don't know how huge the difference is between the Sabertooth and Crosshair going from LN2 to like I know the difference between them on air and water cooling isn't really that big to basically non-existent. And on LN2, I don't know how big the difference is. I do know the Crosshair goes up to like 2.3 volts CPU voltage or something. So that alone would probably get me, 50, maybe 100 megahertz more. But the Crosshair would also have a better VRM just in terms of quality. So it also has more options for LN2 overclocking. It would probably handle the RAM better, so if there was any RAM issues with getting the frequencies to not crash, that the Crosshair would solve that as well. There's a lot of things the Crosshair could or couldn't solve depending on how big the differences between them are, but I'll never know because I probably won't get a Crosshair. Well, I certainly won't get one for free, and I'm not entirely sold on the idea of buying one because I still need to get a Skylake system running. Well, I want to get a Skylake system to benchmark some i3s, but yeah. It's one photo. I don't have any cool frozen shots of anything to take. Ah, well. Alright, so that's the system photo. That I'm not going to bother with too many. This isn't that pretty. This is awful looking. So, I don't know. Actually, let's just put the webcam on me. So, get that cable out of there. Whoomp. Ta-da! Me. Ignore the hair, please. I have no idea what's on my head right now. It's probably awful. Yes, it is. Whatever. So, there we go. For AMD FX at 8370, trying to do 4.7 gigahertz. Would higher frequency RAM work better? No, higher frequency RAM would be a disaster. Basically, it would put extra load on the components inside the CPU, which would lead to, well, more heat, but that would probably be marginal. But AMD processors don't really like going above 2133 megahertz on the memory, and above 2133 they start being really dodgy. So yeah. Recommended voltage for 8370 at 4.7 gigahertz depends on your CPU. It could be 1.5 if you have a really bad one. It could be 1.35 if you have a good one. What other questions are there? Blackbird, how tall am I? Yeah, I just caught that one. So I'm 192, 97 centimeters, so that's like 6 foot something. I think it's like 6'5". Is there a difference in overclocking temperatures at similar frequencies when comparing multiplier overclock versus bus speed overclock in regards to normal overclocking, not LN2? If you keep your multipliers everywhere the same, like if you keep all your frequencies everywhere while overclocking with the bus, it should just stay the same temperature-wise. How do you get money for all your components? Not gonna answer that question. That's just not gonna answer that. There's reasons for that. I'm not gonna answer. How do you any good web resources for AMD Intel overclocking? Google? That's where I do all my research. Yeah, I do all my overclocking research on Google. So, yeah. Still taking questions until there's like, 50 people watching. Yeah. Also, I work at I work as a gaming peripherals reviewer for Touch Power Up. Do I taste the air differently that high up? Nah. I just tend to not fit in cars or buses or planes or any number of things. I don't fit in beds. Beds are a disaster. Beds are really, really bad. Finding a bed that fits me, that's a catastrophe. Do you actually play games on overclocked system? The system that's currently streaming this stream is actually, yeah, that's actually a good idea. I'll show you the beast. So there we go. So that is what runs the stream. That monster can is there just like I had a stupid idea and it just stayed there. So yeah, there's a reservoir in there that's like this tall, and I felt bad about having a small reservoir, so that's my EPEAN extension. So yeah, the CPU in that is running 4.7 gigahertz. I've benchmarked up to almost 5 for Firestrike. I've benchmarked, this thing validated 5.1 with one core. The Fury X here, that's modded capacitors, custom BIOSes. If you watch my blog, then you know that I make custom BIOSes. This one only has capacitor mods, no VMods. There's still some stuff I want to do to the Fury X so I can like push it way, way, way far out, because I think I'm hitting some kind of power throttling garbage, and I've just decided no power throttling garbage will not power tune can't tell me the power draw is too high when it doesn't know what the power draw is. So the plan is I'm gonna open up that card, and I'm gonna basically the IR3567B, which is the voltage controller for that. It has 6 pins that check the current going through every single phase. If you skew the pins, you can make it see that it's pulling less power, and that should prevent any power consumption throttling. I have two other Fury X's that are currently not in the system because they're basically unusable for a 24/7 system at this point. Those still need to get fixed, and actually one of them is going to get power modded. If the power mods don't work, I'm going to try e-power mod those things. Are you from Sweden or something? No, I'm Czech. I'm Czech. I know it doesn't show on the accent, but I'm 100% Czech, and I speak decent English because, well, I've been going to international schools all my life. Uh, so yeah, uh, QA keeps rolling and rolling. Yeah, somewhere in North UK. So, uh, any other questions? Or I'm gonna try. Will you overclock Zen CPUs when they come out? Assuming they put out a like, if there's a Zen 8 core that isn't super expensive, I really want it. Thoughts on NVIDIA cards, on NVIDIA graphics cards, the new ones or in general? Because in general, my opinion of NVIDIA is very, very, very low. I don't like their PCBs. Generally speaking, just like I don't like NVIDIA graphics cards because the reference cards are garbage. Like those PCBs are awful. Thoughts on no Okay, so yeah, my opinion on NVIDIA is I don't really like them. Also, both of my monitors are FreeSync, and I plan to get a third one so that I can play Dirt Rally in surround. So, yeah. The 1080, opinion on the new graphics cards, they look interesting, right? They annoy me because it basically means everything I'm doing with the Fury X's is going to be invalid in like a month, and I'm going to have to feel really bad about wasting all that time on them. 400 series. So I'm actually really excited for the 400 series because they're apparently going to be cheap, and I'm going to have an excuse to buy like 4 of them. 6 to 8 cores. Yeah, so basically, if it turns out that Zen 8 cores is easier to deal with on LN2 than a 5960X, and it performs similarly to a 5960X, I'm gonna go Zen, because for Fire Strike, it's just, yeah, I could go and get the 6950X, but it costs way too much. Have I been on r/AMD? I have been on r/AMD, and they banned me. I don't know who banned me, but I'm banned from there for some reason. So it's freaking, yeah. Um yeah. So I'm banned from there. That's not cool. Long time since yeah. Uh yeah. I'm trying to clear out the remaining viewers. Agreed. Yeah. Okay, so there's gonna be yeah, watch the blog, watch the YouTube. If you want just minor like updates on my random thoughts and stuff about overclocking, you can just follow the Facebook. There's links to all that stuff under the stream. The YouTube, I have a bunch of planned content. I just can't keep getting to it. Can't like keep not getting around to actually making it. So, how did I get banned from r/AMD? I think what the reason is for me getting banned, I was complaining about uh uh I was complaining about AMD's power management or something like that. Yeah. So, that's pretty much what I think I got banned for. I was complaining about the Fury X's power management, which I'm totally justified in complaining about. It's stupid. Um, what else? Right. Yeah, Shu, leave the stream. You're persistent. Did you have an FX6300? I have an FX6350. That was that was one of my gaming PCs, the 6350. Uh, so yeah, and I had that at like 4.8 gigahertz on air cooling, and the 6350 was fine. I don't have a 480. I have a collection of old graphics cards that I plan to benchmark. There's a 570 GTX 570. There's a 590 sitting there because like I have this GTX 590 was my very first graphics card ever. And I wanted to overclock, and the 590 is the worst overclocking graphics card in history, as far as I'm concerned. What phone do you have? That's a random freaking question. I have this. It's a Gigabyte. Gigabyte makes phones. It's super cheap. It has Android. So 1590 is kill, because I dripped solder on the PCIe connectors. I tried to clean it off and everything went to hell. The 590 sitting over there, I need to clean that thing out. Once I clean it out, I need to go obtain an e-power, and this time I'm not screwing up. Uh, did you ever get the custom voltage controller? Ever get your custom voltage controller to work? I'm working on a new one. I have plans to make a new little device thing that you can just thubun on LN2. No, but I have overclocked an Athlon 2 on LN2, and I don't think I'm ever gonna overclock a 6-core Phenom. It just doesn't make sense for me, like in terms of like worldwide rankings on hardware bot and like my interest. I could do like if I had a random thubun lying around, I'd do it, but you know, it's like my LN2 is precious. So I can't just waste it on any random CPU I feel like would be cool to overclock. So yeah, custom voltage controllers. Right, back to the custom voltage controller. Yeah, I'm working on a new one where you could like, which would have like control buttons and everything. And I'm working on that using a, would it be possible to make a custom BIOS to enable voltage control on the Gigabyte 390? Gigabyte 390. I had a look at that car. I think the PCB might be the same as other 390s. You should be able to just put a normal 390 BIOS on it anyway. Other than that, I know for a fact it can be modded for more voltage. So my Phenom gets 4 gigahertz on air. That's normal. So yeah. Thoughts on Battlefield 1? I'm not interested in Battlefield. I got 3 in a promo code with a motherboard once. I tried it and I found out I really don't like Battlefield games. So no thoughts on that. And and it's not that I don't like FPS games. Oh, are you going to use an e-power board on a Fury? That is a there's a chance that I'll do it if I can't get the power limiter to shut the hell up. Um, yeah, actually talking about let's just go back to games. I'll quickly go through games. So I play arena shooters, right? So I play this ancient one from like 2004. It runs at like 700 FPS. So I play Cube 2 Sauerbraten occasionally. I play Dirt Rally, and I play Toxic, which is an arena FPS. But unfortunately, that thing's is dead as hell. I play Robocraft, and I was a huge fan of the Pokemon games, but I haven't played one recently. Right, Gigabyte has no switchable BIOS. Yeah, that's bad. Actually, I want to make a video where I intentionally brick a graphics card and then like fix it without using a BIOS switch. So does the 570 have a BIOS switch? No, it doesn't. So yeah, I'm gonna go brick the 570, and that'll be up on YouTube how to recover that. I might end up with a bricked 570 proper, and that'll suck. But in theory, you can recover. In theory, you should be able to recover. How old am I? Not gonna answer. Robocraft. Yeah. I'm not gonna do personal information, so you know, no real name, no location, no age, no that. Height you can know because that's just random. You're not the NSA. You can't deduce who I am. 79950 that has a BIOS switch. I don't know. Seriously, guys, if you don't leave, I'm gonna be answering questions until I die. You know, I'm like a person who doesn't like disappointing people. Except I do it all the time. Whoa, I managed to not add place what everybody knows I was just drinking. How do 8350s overclock? If it works, I'll send you my 390 and you can unbrick it. How do 8350s overclock? Some 8350s, like the old 8350s, were the best bin. I will answer. NSA. Okay. 8350. Yeah, some of them would clock like I know a guy who had a golden 8350 which hit like 5.5 gigahertz on water for benchmarks. There's only 3 people in the world who 6, 5. How do you like doing moderation over at r/overclocking? Um, I'm not a very good moderator, if I'm totally honest. GTX 1080 reaching 2 gigahertz on air. I mean wait. So GTX 1080 reaching 2 gigahertz on air. This is something I want to answer. Here's my opinion on high frequency graphics cards. The frequency it runs at doesn't matter if it doesn't give me any FPS, right? Like the Fury X runs at 1050 megahertz, and it's almost the same FPS as a 980 Ti. It's a little slower, but the 980 Ti is running 1200 megahertz, right? If you get a Fury X to 1300 megahertz, it's going to perform basically the same as a 1500 megahertz 980 Ti. So I'm like, megahertz. Who really cares? Budget ASRock or Asus motherboard. Uh, my experience with ASRock motherboards is bad, like really bad. But I've used 2 of them, and I've heard they've gotten a lot better. But my personal usage is Asus, and I've used a few gigabytes. 8320E. ASRock's break within like 1 year. Oh no, I'm complaining about ASRock's because I've had them kill CPUs for me. So yeah, that's like I had a 6800K once upon a time, and that 6800K is dead because ASRock. So yeah, but I don't know how their newer BIOSes behave. So yeah, and right now the overclock, like the OCF series motherboards are super popular with like other overclockers. You know what? You're all just gonna keep asking me random questions, aren't you? Like forever. 16 gigahertz 99050XXX, great. So you're all just gonna keep asking me questions until I die, right? So here's my new approach to you not leaving the stream when I decide to like uh, ask me questions and slowly file out. Skylake CPU, will you delid before overclocking? No, I will overclock with it lidded and then I'll delid it. Is it possible to LN2 cool dual CPUs on one motherboard? Kingpin had like Kingpin had an insane LN2 run with 2 Xeons on the old EVGA SR2. How's the weather? Um, Here in the UK, it's kind of rainy. So yeah. 290, 780, 970, 290X. You can afford all of those. What? Who's asking if we gave up? No, I already got 8 gigahertz. So, well, I never got above 8 gigahertz. So, yeah, and I gave up. I decided the motherboard's not worth pushing harder. It won't do. I mean, the system works. The system's not dead. The motherboard just sucks. I'm gonna try again sometime later. And right now I'm just for fun answering. You should definitely super cheap Xeon overclocking guide on X79. I don't have my Rampage in the UK, so yeah, I don't know if I can do anything with X79 for. Uh, Wait, I'll just update the overlay. Give me a second. Links, there we go. Overlay target. Oops. As you can probably tell, I'm pretty new to this streaming business. Damn it to hell. So there we go. 8006. That's what I got. Should I put the link? Boom. Ta-da! There. So that's the validation up. Everything is there. There we go. So that's all the settings. Dutch accent. Honestly, some people have said that my accent is Canadian, but my accent seems to flip-flop at random. So, when I went to an American international school, everybody claimed I have a super British accent. When was the last time I cleaned my room? Are you my mom? Long hair, studying IT, lives in the UK. Yeah, um, so cleaned my room 4 weeks ago, maybe? Would you rather fight 100 duck-sized horses or 100 horse-sized ducks? Um, yeah, so no, what's stable? What's a stable? My 5960X, which is pretty good, does 4.7 gigahertz. Most of them seem to hit about 4.5. On air cooling, you can pretty much get 4.4. If you go water cooling, you can probably get around 300 megahertz more. What's on the bench? That's a Rampage 5. Um, Wait, no. Benchmark, that's the Sabertooth. What's on the test bench? So this is a Rampage 5 Extreme. It's got the very, very vain heatsink over there. And it's cooled by Monster Energy drink, which I run on. Not actually. I actually take the whole don't drink too much energy drink pretty seriously because, as you can probably tell, I'm not the most healthy looking person ever. So, yeah. At peak time, this stream had 100 people. Look, people, leave, leave. I'm gonna put a giant freaking banner to annoy all of you. Add text leave banner. Non-K Skylake. I really want to do non-K Skylake. I'm broke as hell right now. Great. Give me a second. Highest OC on an Asus Pro Revision 2. That's actually a pretty good motherboard. If I remember correctly, it's a 6 plus 2-phase VRM. You could probably, if you pushed it, get 5 and had a good CPU. You could probably even go above 5. You should have an LN2 fund. Hey, look, if you want more cool streams and more cool videos, it's really simple. You either share my stuff so that I can start getting ad revenue and free samples because I'm famous, or you can start, there's a donate button on the blog. You can use that. So, that's that. Let's make this pretty. There. Now the stream, I'm going to move that out of the way of the score just so that, I can show off my 8 gigahertz. There we go. I'm going to just sit here quietly until everybody leaves. And we play the waiting game. Make it flash. I can actually do that. But by clicking the mouse. When's it going to start flashing on stream? Well, I could just turn the stream off. I'm just too nice to do that. You horrible people. Stream's been going for over 2 hours now, so you know what? My eyes. I answered the where I live. I live in the UK. You don't need more details. We need a big streamer and send the viewers over. I can't be arsed making a macro right now. And I'm not, technically it's not an IT major. So, there. What did you eat for lunch? Do you... Okay, so let's see. Does it count as lunch if I woke up in the afternoon? What do I think about COD? I really liked the look of Modern, which one was it? There's some random COD game which looked really fast paced, and I thought that was pretty cool. But then I decided, nah, it's too expensive. I can buy 2 DWARs full of liquid nitrogen for one COD game. I think everybody knows which I'm gonna buy. Yes, I'm Czech and I'm living in the UK. Um, boxers or briefs? Uh, I'm no, just not gonna bother with that one. I don't even know which one's which. I think it's briefs that I prefer, but I never really checked the definition. So, see y'all. Goodbye. The leave please is obviously not disdaining any of you horrible people like viewers. So yeah. So I'm gonna stop the stream now. See y'all. Wait. Before you all start leaving, because I'm actually gonna press the button. Um, There is going to be more streams. I still have LN2 in that tank. I'm planning a stream for Wednesday, I think. And I'm planning a stream for maybe tomorrow, even. Maybe tomorrow, but I don't think I'm going to be ready by tomorrow to do anything. So that's that. Uh, So yeah, but there's definitely going to be a stream Wednesday, and there's definitely going to be another stream on Saturday. And if you want to know the times and details, just watch the Facebook, because I put those things on Facebook. I don't like spamming up my blog with little announcements saying, "Oh, stream here, stream there, stream there." Uh, will announce on Reddit, yes. Here's the problem with me announcing my streams on Reddit. If I do it too much, I'm probably gonna get banned. Uh, Also, quick poll before you all start leaving. Should I benchmark Athlon 2s and Phenom 2s triple core Cinebench? Because triple core, like, I love Cinebench as a benchmark, and triple core Cinebench is worth a ton of points. And I'll also do 3-core GPU well, basically I'll do a bunch of 3-core benchmarks. So do people want to watch 3-core benchmarks, or do you want to see me overclock a Pentium G3258 on liquid nitrogen or a 4790K on liquid nitrogen? That's up to you. I'm going to put a poll on the Facebook and the blog. You can vote on that. I'll check the votes. Whichever's highest is what I'm going to do. There was a poll for this. That poll was on r/overclocking because it wasn't really AMD related. So that's that. I hope you enjoyed the stream, and now I'm going to actually press the button. And looks like 3 cores is going to be overwhelming majority, so here comes the end of the stream. And goodbye.